of the Rakuten ecosystem. Now, Rakuten has built its business on disruptive practices in internet services with 70+ businesses and over 100 million members in Japan. Now, in this next session, we're going to hear how some of those elements have been successfully replicated internationally through a wide variety of businesses. We're going to be hosting a panel discussion shortly discussing some of that in more detail. But firstly, it's my distinct pleasure to be handing over to the Chief Executive Officer of Rakuten International and Rakuten Rewards, Amit Patel, for some opening remarks. Thank you very much.
Thank you, James, and good morning, everybody. My name is Amit Patel, representing Rakuten International. As James said, we've obviously got a very deep history and a very large audience in Japan, and what we've been working on over the last 20+ years now is taking the elements of our successes in Japan and finding other places around the world where we can essentially replicate that success. And so, like I said, over the last 20 years, we've gone systematically and acquired a variety of different businesses across content, communication, commerce, and ultimately the connectivity between what we do in Japan and what we do globally ultimately revolves around ID, rewards, and data and intelligence. And so today we'll get into those details and sort of explain a little bit about what the successes are in Japan and how we've been able to replicate those in other parts of the world and how we can be extremely partner-friendly in that regard. But today I'm going to hand off to Cedric, who represents Rakuten TV, one of the businesses that I think are most aligned with telecommunication services. We have several partnerships in that regard, and so today you'll be hearing about our developments in that area and how ultimately we can bring a content business, a content service to partners like telecommunications to help you sort of integrate into a more deeper relationship with your consumers. So with that, I will hand it over to Cedric for a presentation on Rakuten TV. Thank you.
Thank you, Hamid. Hi, everyone. I'm Cedric Dufour. I'm the CEO of Rakuten TV, and I'm really happy today to introduce our VOD and streaming platform. And before we dive into Rakuten TV, let's watch a short video.
Check it out. It's hot.
Introducing Rakuten TV, a leading video streaming platform available across Europe.
Oh my God!
Stream over 500 unique live TV channels with plenty of top-tier content, including movies, TV shows, sports, live news, music,
Right.
plus our own branded movie and series channels.
New one here.
Stream on demand for free with ads.
Anything interesting tonight?
From Hollywood films to original content, such as the hit reality series Discovering Canary Islands.
Go!
Plus, catch the latest movies to buy and rent, fresh from the cinema.
I'm your girl.
The choice is yours.
Love you.
No monthly fees, no strings attached, no subscriptions.
The sky's the limit.
Rakuten TV. Discover streaming freedom.
So as you saw in the video, Rakuten TV is a VOD and a streaming platform. We are present in more than 42 countries in Europe. And we experienced a strong growth during the last 6 years thanks to a relevant partnership with TV manufacturers. We have a Rakuten TV branded button on almost all the remote control, as well as a placement of our application and channels on all TV interface. The content we provide on our platforms comes from major Hollywood studio as well as local studios. It's very important in each country to have both global content and localized content. What makes us unique in Europe is that we are the only platform having TVOD, which means paid content, AVOD, which is free content on demand, and fast channel on the same platform in 42 countries in Europe. With 15 years of presence in Europe, we now reach 150 million households. More than 40 million users access our catalog every month. And based on the successful and scalable platform, we've also developed a B2B offering called Rakuten TV Enterprise, which basically leverage 15 years of expertise. So let's focus today on what Rakuten TV Enterprise can provide and can offer to telcos. There are three main pillars that I want to develop today, which are our main assets: content licensing, technology, and ad monetization. So let me walk you through each of the pillars. Content is one of our main assets. Thanks to more than 15 years of relationship with the studios, we are able to have in our catalog more than 20,000 movies, more than 500 channels that we are distributing across Europe, and we make this content available to telcos. Another of our assets is the technology. Since the beginning, we have built all our tech, all our apps and channel with in-house engineers. We have our own engineers based in Barcelona, and we've built everything in-house. And similar to the content, we can make this technology available to telcos. And last but not least, ad monetization. We started free content with ad back in 2019. We were the first platform launching AVOD and FAST across Europe. And since the beginning, we decided to have our own in-house ad sales team. So we are selling our inventory ourselves. And we're not selling only Rakuten TV inventory, but also third-party inventory. So that's another service we can provide to the telcos. All these services are already available and are already sold to a few telcos. So this is a snapshot of the partnerships we have currently with telcos. Everything started 4 years ago with Orange in Spain, where we started to operate their TVOD store called Rakuten Video Club by Rakuten TV. We are now expanding our partnership with Orange in new countries. We did similar thing with Virgin Media in UK, where we started to have our app available on their interface, and we recently launched new channels also on Virgin Media. Yesterday, we announced a new partnership with Prime Video. We have now channels available on Prime Video in Germany, in Italy, and in Spain, and more to come. So thank you very much for your attention, and this is who we are at Rakuten TV. Handing over to Puneet.
Firstly, thank you, Amit, and thank you, Cedric, for sharing how Rakuten is, transforming business globally. Good morning, everyone. My name is Puneet. I am Chief Strategy Officer for Rakuten Symphony and also lead product and strategy for Rakuten Mobile. Like how Amit and Cedric shared how they're transforming business globally, I'll talk about how Rakuten and Rakuten businesses are actually transforming in Japan and how this ecosystem story has stitched together and contributed to a larger goal what we want to achieve in Japan. So very quickly to recap, I think everybody is aware how Rakuten is and what ecosystem it is about. So Rakuten runs 70 different businesses, and we have around 900K plus merchant across these different businesses. We have 100 million plus IDs, and we have 40 million plus users which comes to our platform in Japan in some shape or form. As we proceed, we touched about how we are globally present. In Japan, we are in #1 of most of the services, whether we talk about our Ichiba business, which is our e-commerce business, or Rakuten Bank, Rakuten Credit Card, Rakuten Travel. And by leadership of Amit, we are transforming businesses globally, and Symphony is one of the key players which is providing Open RAN and other cloud-native solutions. So taking in that nature, how ecosystem flywheel works is every business comes together and communication is the core to our business. Very closely integrated with data, ID, and Rakuten AI. And all the businesses sits on top of this integrated data layer. Now, when you see this whole ecosystem flywheel, we acquire the customer, this customer spend across the ecosystem, and we promote more cross use of different businesses, and this complete flywheel reinvest on our ecosystem, and to give our customer more seamless experience and the benefits across different ecosystem, and also segment our user what they are interested to watch, to buy, or to travel. By virtue of this, we see that more than 15% of Rakuten Group user in Japan are actually Rakuten Mobile user, are generated by Rakuten Mobile users. There are around 60 million plus unique traffic generated to our Rakuten Group websites. Every Rakuten Mobile user spends more than 2.4 plus more services than the non-subscriber. Right now, Rakuten Mobile user use more than 3 services in any of these businesses when they join Rakuten Mobile. And in mobile, we don't track only ARPU. Traditionally, every operator is very focused on ARPU. We track our AGPU. It's not just about the traditional data and voice ARPU generation, but how much value generated by each unique user in the ecosystem. That's how we track. That is what our KPI and target is. So ecosystem is not just seeding the way how business operate, but it is the most fundamental way to operate further. So we talked about how Rakuten Group has evolved, how ecosystem is contributing. I just want to give a very practical example in Japan, how all the businesses came together to support Rakuten Mobile as a new entrant. So when we talk about Rakuten Card, they provide different points and services so that it promotes people a specific segment to promote and join Rakuten Mobile. There are the Rakuten Beauty, who provides different type of coupons and rewards so that people can join and consume those services. If Rakuten Mobile users spend and use different services, they can earn more 5x points than if they use only 1 or 2 services. By doing all this, we were able to acquire out of almost 10% of the users, out of 10 million base, around 1.1 million of the user base by this promotion. So ecosystem added almost 10% of our user base. Our revenue expansion, specifically around the GMS uplift, is around 25.6% from Rakuten Mobile to Rakuten Travel itself. If there are multiple benefits we generate for users. So one of the key benefits which I want to call out, we recently announced, every Rakuten Mobile user get a distinct discounted percentage on the securities and get an advantage on the saving accounts when they open through Rakuten Bank and are a Rakuten Mobile customer. So the idea, what I'm trying to say is, customer is seeking now more value. They understand that mobile data and voice is just commodity. It's just an engine. All the application, all the use cases has to synergize and put together. It has to be seamless. It has to be built for the purpose. Last slide. So how do we connect all this? For user, it's too complicated how they navigate with different services. So last year we announced in MWC, we have one of our in-house homegrown application called Rakuten Link. It's basically the gateway for all the Rakuten Mobile users to Rakuten ecosystem. It's not just about calling or messaging as a typical OTT would be, but it is your wallet, it is your travel, it is your media, we also launched AI for free for all our Rakuten Mobile users to promote AI services. It is our CRM as a touch point to our customer for ecosystem. We provide this platform to our merchant to connect to the mobile customer. So this is a complete super app, an intelligent super app which connects all the Rakuten Mobile users to the ecosystem services in Japan. I will close this slide with the video. I think it's missing. I think we removed the video. Actually, I wanted to announce we launched Rakuten AI to our Link customer. I wanted to put a video, but thank you for your attention. Thank you so much for listening, and let's work together and bring this business to further. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Puneet, for talking us through some of the success we've seen in Japan there. We're just going to consolidate some of the information we've heard there from our 3 speakers in the form of a panel discussion where we'll hear in more detail about some of the success that we've seen in the ways that the ecosystem model in Japan has been replicated internationally, and indeed what some of that replication could look like in the form of new services. So I'd like to welcome back our speakers, Amit Patel, the CEO of Rakuten International and Rakuten Rewards, Cedric Dufour, the CEO of Rakuten France and Rakuten TV, and Puneet Handa. I'll just see at the end there, Puneet. So, thank you. Cheers. Thank you very much, and thank you very much to our audience here today. So, Amit, if you could get us started by giving your take on how you've been able to successfully replicate some of the elements that we've seen in Japan that have worked so well. How have you been able to take those to international markets in the form of what is a very successful business of Rakuten International?
Yeah, it's still very much a work in progress, and maybe just expanding on what Puneet said, important to understand how we've been so successful in Japan to then understand how we can take that success to other parts of the world. I mean, if you go back to the beginning of Rakuten's creation, primarily a marketplace model, and ultimately now 70 different services, with obviously mobile telecommunications being a very important one and arguably maybe the centerpiece now, the new centerpiece of the model going forward. But every service being strategically added to leverage the concept of, identity across these different services, rewards such that consumers actually feel a compelling reason to use Rakuten across these different services. And then obviously the data intelligence that we have, such that whether it's financial services or some kind of an entertainment service that we might be going into, that our ability to compete and win is because we're able to take the power of every other single service that you use to that business. And that's very unique, and I don't think there's another company in the world that I think integrates that many different experiences across such a wide range of categories in a single brand. And so that's ultimately the success model. Much harder to do in other international markets. We've been at it for 28 plus years now in Japan, and so we start from a different place. But I think where we've seen success is, again, going back to the concept of, how do we ensure that we have a strong identity, a strong brand. Very difficult for consumers to remember many brands at this point, and so how do we ensure that whether it's TV, whether it's commerce, whether it's communication, that Rakuten is certainly very central to how you engage with that service. Rewards, integral again. Points in Japan is a very fungible, is as good as cash essentially. You can use it anywhere you go. And so ultimately, how do we make sure rewards are a part of the whole ecosystem? And then again, back to the data side of things. Now, internationally, what we've done is figured out how to use that data between ourselves and partners, since we can't really sort of essentially provide 70 different services in other countries. And so those are sort of the key elements. And then picking and choosing what is our central service, what is our anchor service in different markets. And so as Cedric showed you, in Europe, it's primarily Rakuten TV. In other parts of the world, we use Rakuten Viber. In Greece and Philippines, you're talking about countries here where predominantly everybody in the country uses Rakuten Viber. So it gives us a very strong starting point. So we use that as a way to essentially integrate other services in.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Amit. So Cedric, on to you now. So again, you can kind of touch upon this subject wearing two hats, I suppose, both as CEO of Rakuten TV and Rakuten France. Could you start off by talking us through some of the success you've seen in France and perhaps in Europe more broadly? Are there any examples that jump out in terms of how that success has been replicated?
Right. I think France is a good example, a good illustration. Do you have mic? Oh, sorry. Thank you. Yes. So France is a good illustration of the strength of our ecosystem and how it benefits to our customers. So we have an e-commerce business in France called Rakuten France, which is a marketplace. We sell any kind of products. And we have a very generous loyalty program called Club R. So when our customers are buying products, they can earn points from 5% to 20% of their purchase in points. And these points can be redeemed or on the e-commerce platform, Rakuten France, or on Rakuten TV. And many of our users are using their points to watch free movie on Rakuten TV. So that's a good example of the strength and the synergy we have between both businesses. So that's a B2C example, I would say. We also have synergies in our B2B businesses. I just explained that Rakuten TV offers many services to telcos, and we partner a lot with Rakuten Symphony to address the needs of the telcos. One of the main, the first client of Rakuten Symphony was 1&1 in Germany. Symphony built the Open RAN network for 1&1, and Rakuten TV, just after this deal, we also closed a partnership with them to operate their TVOD and AVOD business in Germany. So that's a good example also when we have discussion with telco to not only have discussion just on one verticals, but to cover all the segments of the group.
Thank you very much, Cedric. What you've said there ties in nicely to my next question to Puneet. You've mentioned Rakuten Symphony in the way that Symphony is exporting some of the technologies and services made in Japan to MNOs across the world. But let's move on to that ecosystem model and elements of that. Let's say we were to export some of those elements to MNOs across the world. What could that look like, and what kind of services other than TV could they perhaps expect to avail?
So interesting question. Me and Amit actually were discussing, just about this, that how just copy pasting what Rakuten has done in Japan is so complicated. Not every operator can do that because it comes with a very, very tough of experience and the customer understanding itself, correct? That every market operates very differently. So right now, as Mickey announced in his keynote, correct, we will be doing ecosystem as a service, to different markets. It depends how we segment the market correctly, correct, and we identify right opportunity where it makes sense. Like how Cedric touched base, when we raised 1&1, the demand was to build a network first, correct? So how do we penetrate to build the network first and expose what services matter to them the most, correct? How their experience in those particular zones is, how influence they have in terms of the content business or the reward business or, the travel, etc. So I think it depends on how the customer is. But having said that, something which we have done very unique, it's about the ID system. Right? That is something very unique because that is the fundamental to the core. Because we have one ID and we have one data layer. So we know the customer far better than, if it is more disintegrated, correct? We can understand customer, not only the intent, but we can understand the behavior of the customer itself. So I think the ID system makes a very, a logical sense when CSPs, like, the mobile operators are struggling to build more ARPUs, correct? And they need to find more opportunities to build the gap to fit the TCO models. I think ID becomes a very important point. And Rakuten TV and other, OTT consumption, which sits on that to generate more data and data consumption on top of it, are certain services which will make sense in different part of the world.
As you say, not a cut and paste approach as such. It's about tailoring it to each specific market. Thank you very much. Amit, back to you. I suppose a simple question, really, in simple terms. You've mentioned the value of the identity scheme and specific data sets, but what makes that loyalty system so valuable to customers, and why is rewards, for example, amongst other businesses, why is that model so attractive to customers, and what keeps them glued into that ecosystem?
In some ways, it's from a customer standpoint, the seamless integration and the ability to go from one to another, to me, is really the key. I mean, so Puneet showed you Link, which is sort of our latest offering and solution as to how can you go to one place and through AI actually discover the right service. And back to my point of mobile now really for us becoming the centerpiece, the ability to identify where somebody is, what they've done recently, what they might be of the 70 different services, which is the one that they're likely wanting to engage in. The screen sizes are so small, we have to be very smart and intelligent in what we put in front of them. So for me, it's sort of that feeling of simplicity that comes back to the integration layer, which, when he said, is very difficult to replicate, that we've done very successfully. And then the rewards. Obviously, everybody today, I think, values the decisions they make, wants to be rewarded for the decisions they make. And we found, obviously, a great scheme to do that and ensure that ultimately the more services that you use, the greater reward that you get, the more seamless the experience is. And obviously, the better that your life is.
Excellent. Thank you very much. Cedric, back to you. So, as you've touched upon there in your presentation, Rakuten TV is a household name in Europe. TV has played an important part in that journey. Maybe you could talk us through some of the other successes we're seeing now in terms of how that's being white labeled as a service to mobile network operators, and how in turn that's diversifying your own business by branching out as such. What lessons have you learned from those steps?
The main lesson we learned is that our value proposition for telco really fits their needs, which is a good signal. What matters for a telco, MNO, is to increase the engagement of their customers, to reduce churn, and to increase ARPU. And having a TV proposition, a very relevant TV proposition with different ways of consuming content, paid content, free content with ads and channel. It's a way to really increase the engagement of their customers and to increase ARPU. But because it's not their core business, as telecom is their core business, many of the telcos are keen to outsource this service to companies like us. In our case, we've been in this industry for 15 years. We have very strong relationship with all the studios. We know the technology. We build it internally. So we have a very good response to their needs. That's the reason why we have so many partnerships with telco. So I think that we are having more and more discussion with them. We started just with TVOD. Now more and more telcos are interested in channels, in fast channels. We have also the capacity to monetize the inventory, so to provide them additional revenue, which is good for the engagement. So that's the reason why this works pretty well.
Absolutely, very promising signs indeed. Thank you very much. Puneet, just to round off the discussion, let's just say, again, we're talking about exporting some of the ecosystem services to mobile network operators globally. For those telcos that are looking to make that transition, the so-called transition from being a telco to a much more advanced, tech-savvy telco, what does that look like, and what do they need to do to avail those services to make themselves more mature, and how can those services make them more mature in turn?
I think the first thing has to be the mindset change. Like every telco operator, they need to come out of the aspect of the legacy thought process. Right? Now customer is very demanding. They want everything very integrated. They want everything to be rewarding. There are so many apps now coming in that to keep that attention itself is very difficult. Right? So how do we have better lifetime value from the customer? How do we partner the customer and understand the customer better? I think the first thing is the mindset. And second most important thing is that every telco has to move to more software-defined networks so that whatever, Rakuten Mobile had a profound advantage because we were starting everything new. So we could do everything new. We can integrate everything from the source itself. Correct? I think that is what telco need to evolve in. They need to start integrating their systems together first. I think that is the first thing they need to do. And from there, they need to start the journey for identifying what type of segment they are serving in, what type of the segment they are failing in, where they see a lot of churn, how to retain them, because the cost of acquisition is higher than the retention itself. So we need to focus on what is your loyal customer, how frequent they are, how monetize your value of the products you are doing. So I think that is the most fundamental thing every telco has to do, to change the mindset and integrate their systems first.
Again, I suppose it's largely a case of not one size fits all, as with certain aspects of replicating that ecosystem success internationally. I think that pretty much brings us to time. Ladies and gents, a big round of applause for our panelists here from Rakuten International, Rakuten TV and Rakuten Mobile. Thank you all very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you. I think we get a